Introduction. The making of a hero. Every generation faces a choice between drifting with the current or taking up the oars and rowing towards something greater. In quiet moments, you can feel that choice pressing against your ribs. It is the awareness that time is moving whether you act or not, and that your life will either be a deliberate construction or a collection of accidents. The world is loud with opinions and endless pathways, but underneath the noise there is a need for clarity. Clarity about who you are, why you are here, and who you will become when the music stops. ADA. Hero is not a book of empty encouragements. It is a field manual. Each section is built on principles extracted from life in the trenches. Businesses launched and burned, relationships built and broken, bodies trained and neglected, spirits tested and renewed. These lessons do not come from theory or trend. They come from blood, sweat, tears, laughter, and prayers whispered in the dark. They come from an understanding that there is joy in sacrifice and peace in discipline, and that love is a verb you practice when no one is watching. What you hold in your hands is an invitation to stand tall, to engage with your life instead of floating through it. You will not find quick hacks or mystical secrets here. Instead, you will meet the 4 laws that shape a life capable of withstanding storms, agency, discipline, alignment, and mastery. Each law is both a mirror and a tool. They reflect the way you are living today, and they equip you to live tomorrow differently. This book calls you to heroism, not the kind sung about in songs of war, but the quiet courage of becoming someone your children and your neighbors can depend on. It asks you to love deeply, act decisively, and build something that will outlast you. Chapter 1. Agency, the first stone in the foundation. Definition and core truth. Agency is more than choice. It is not simply the ability to pick between Coke and Pepsi, or whether to scroll your phone or open a book. Agency is the power to govern your life. It is the recognition that you are not a leaf blown by every breeze, but a builder with hammer and stone in hand. In doctrine, agency is the divine gift to act, rather than be acted upon. In psychology, it is autonomy, the sense that your life is within your control. In business, it is ownership, the refusal to pass blame or shrink from responsibility. Agency is the first principle of all growth, because until you claim full authorship of your choices, nothing else can stand. The truth is simple. Every outcome in your life traces back to a decision you made or refused to make. You are the author. You can write a tragedy or an epic. You can write a story of surrender or a story of victory. The pen never leaves your hand. You only sometimes forget you're holding it. The reality check. Look around and you'll see agency under attack. Society teaches dependence. Advertisers whisper, "You can't be happy unless you buy this." Politicians shout, "You can't survive unless we save you." Excuses have become a national pastime. And I was late because traffic was bad. I snapped at you because I was tired. And I can't get ahead because the system is unfair. Each excuse is a small surrender of agency. The truth is harder but cleaner. You chose. You chose when to leave, how to treat someone, what to focus on. Excuses feel safe because they let us dodge responsibility. But what looks like safety is really weakness. Every time you hand away responsibility, you hand away power. The man who says, "It's not my fault," is also saying, "It's not in my control." He thinks he's protecting his pride, but he's actually confessing helplessness. Agency doesn't deny that storms come. It doesn't ignore unfairness. It doesn't pretend life is easy. It simply says, "I will row anyway." The wind is against me? Good, I'll row harder. The current pulls the wrong way? Fine, I'll adjust my angle. The choice to act is always yours. Story 1. Joseph in Egypt. Few lives illustrate agency better than Joseph, sold by his brothers into slavery. If anyone had reason to wallow in bitterness, it was him. Betrayed by family, carried to a foreign land, accused falsely, thrown into prison. At each step he could have said, "This is unfair, my life is ruined." But Joseph refused victimhood. As a slave, he became the most trusted servant. As a prisoner, he became the overseer of the prison itself. His agency turned each misfortune into preparation. By the time Pharaoh called him, Joseph had already proven himself capable of ruling. From slave to second in command of Egypt. Not because his life was easy, but because he acted instead of complained. Agency transforms prisons into training grounds. Victimhood cements chains. Story 2, the technician who owned it. I once knew a technician who, when jobs went bad, always found a way to shift the blame. The equipment was faulty. The customer was unreasonable. The company hadn't given him enough support. Each time he looked outward for an explanation, never inward for a solution. Over time, customers stopped trusting him. His career stalled. Contrast that with another man who, when something went wrong, would say, "That's on me. Let's fix it." He didn't waste energy defending himself. He spent energy correcting the problem. Customers trusted him. Leaders promoted him. His influence grew. The difference between those two men wasn't skill or intelligence. It was agency. One gave it away, the other guarded it like treasure. Story 3. Lincoln and Responsibility. Abraham Lincoln carried the weight of a divided nation. He inherited war, enemies, and criticism from every side. He had more reason than anyone to throw up his hands and say, "This is impossible." But instead, he acted as if the burden was his to solve. He didn't wait for conditions to improve. He made hard calls, risked unpopularity, and carried responsibility until it crushed him. Lincoln's legacy isn't just that he preserved the Union. It's that he demonstrated the power of agency on the largest stage imaginable. He could not choose the storm, but he could choose to stand at the helm. The philosophical challenge. Every culture wrestles with the question of free will. Are we determined by biology, upbringing, society, or are we truly free? The man who believes he is determined lives as a slave even if no chains are visible. The man who believes he is free can cut through obstacles that appear immovable. Agency does not mean circumstances are irrelevant. They matter, but they are not final. To say "I cannot" is a lie unless you are physically restrained. What we often mean is, "I will not because it costs too much." Agency forces us to face that cost honestly instead of disguising it. 3 spheres of application. 1. Business and professional life. In business, agency means you stop being a victim of the market, the boss, or the economy. Yes, downturns come, but leaders with agency don't hide behind spreadsheets. They adapt, pivot, and keep moving. When you walk into a customer's home, you either believe you are powerless against their objections, or you believe you have the ability to serve, persuade, and protect their home. One belief creates hesitation, the other creates sales. 2. Family and relationships. In family life, agency means owning your role as a husband, wife, parent, or child. You don't get to say, "That's just how I am" when your tone is sharp, or "I can't help it" when your patience runs out. Agency says, "I chose to respond this way, and I can choose better next time." Families thrive when members act, not when they drift. 3. Self-mastery. The hardest battlefield is within. Agency here means telling the truth about your habits. You didn't accidentally eat poorly. You chose to. You didn't fall out of reading, praying, or exercising. You neglected to choose. The good news is that the same principle holds for victory. You can choose differently today. You can reclaim direction at any moment. Practical action steps. 1. Catch every excuse for 1 week. Every time you make an excuse, stop and restate it as a choice you made. I was late because I didn't leave early enough. 2. Write down the power. Each morning, list 3 areas of your life you will actively control today. 3. Flip the script. When someone else wrongs you, instead of asking, "Why did they do this?" ask, "How will I respond?" 4. Daily audit. Each night, write down 1 moment you chose well and 1 moment you surrendered. Resolve to shift the ratio. Workbook prompts. And write down 3 excuses you've used this week. Rewrite each as a choice and recall a situation that felt out of your control. What options did you still have? List them. Describe 1 area of your life where you have been drifting. What specific choice will you make tomorrow to reclaim direction? If you could relive today with perfect agency, what would you do differently? Leave 2 or 3 line pages here for the reader to actually write. Reflection questions. 1. Where in my life am I giving away my agency by blaming others? 2. What recurring excuse do I make most often? 3. When was the last time I fully owned a mistake? 4. How would my business, family, and self-mastery look different if I claimed 100% authorship of my choices? Closing. Agency is the cornerstone. Without it, discipline is impossible, alignment collapses, and mastery never arrives. To embrace agency is to step into the role of builder instead of drifter. The question is not whether storms will come, but whether you will row. Your hands are already on the oar. Will you grip them with resolve or let the current carry you? The world will tell you you're a victim. Your own mind will whisper excuses, but inside you is the unbreakable truth you can act. When you claim that truth, you are no longer tossed by chance or circumstance. You become the kind of man or woman who shapes destiny, not the kind who waits for it. Chapter 2. Discipline, the bridge between desire and reality. Definition and core truth. If agency is the foundation, discipline is the frame. Discipline is doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. It is the power to bind yourself to action, to bend impulse beneath principle. Desire is common. Everyone wants health, wealth, success, love. Discipline is rare. Few are willing to wake up early, to endure repetition, to face discomfort without excuses. That is why results are rare. Discipline is not cruelty to self. It is loyalty to self. It is the way you prove to yourself that your word means something. Without discipline, every dream rots into wishful thinking. With it, even average men accomplish extraordinary things. The reality check. Modern culture has confused freedom with indulgence. People say, I'm free, I can do what I want. But the man who cannot put down his phone, cannot pass the donut, cannot drag himself to the gym is not free. He is a slave. His master is appetite. True freedom comes through discipline. The runner who trains until his lungs burn is freer than the man who rests every day until his body collapses. The businessman who disciplines himself to study his craft is freer than the man who follows his passion with no structure. Every day you are disciplined by something, either your own decisions or the weight of consequences. Which master will you choose? Story 1, The Farmer and the Seasons. A farmer plants in spring, sweats through summer, harvests in fall, and repairs in winter. He cannot say, I don't feel like planting today. The season will not wait. His discipline matches the rhythm of reality. Now compare him to the modern worker who says, I'll start when I feel motivated. Seasons do not honor feelings. The farmer eats because he acted on schedule, not on mood. Discipline is alignment with reality's clock. Story 2, Navy SEAL training. In SEAL training, candidates are pushed past exhaustion. One exercise requires them to lie in freezing surf, linked arm in arm, while waves crash over them. The instructors taunt, just quit, and the pain ends. Most quit. The few who stay do not stay because it is pleasant. They stay because they have chosen discipline over comfort. That choice, made 1,000 times, creates warriors capable of impossible missions. Your life is no different. Every time you endure discomfort for the sake of purpose, you forge a kind of quiet invincibility. Story 3, My business wake to up call. When I first stepped into leadership, I thought raw talent would carry me. It didn't. My mornings slipped, my schedule drifted, and soon I was buried in chaos. Then I realized discipline is the system that carries you when talent fades and feelings fail. I began waking earlier, setting non-negotiables, and forcing myself to complete the hard tasks before distractions stole the day. Within weeks, the tide shifted. Sales climbed. My team followed. Not because I became smarter, but because I became disciplined. The philosophical challenge. Discipline confronts the deepest question of identity. Am I ruled by appetite or principle? Every man is tempted to believe he can indulge now and succeed later. But appetite has no later. It always demands now. The disciplined man chooses the long horizon. He accepts small deaths in the present, sweat, hunger, restraint, in exchange for future life. That is why discipline is often called delayed gratification. But the truth is sharper. It is the ability to kill the false self now to give birth to the true self later. 3 spheres of application. 1. Business and professional life. Discipline in business means structure, calls made on time, reports turned in daily, follow-ups never skipped. Talent may win you one deal. Discipline wins you the career. Companies don't fail from lack of opportunity, but from lack of consistency. 2. Family and relationships. Love without discipline dissolves into neglect. Discipline means listening even when tired, apologizing even when pride resists, setting aside time even when busy. The undisciplined parent lets moods dictate parenting. The disciplined parent trains children through consistency, not chaos. 3. Self-mastery. Every habit is a seed. Discipline is the hand that plants or refuses to plant. Fitness, finance, faith, none grow by accident. Self-mastery is the discipline of small daily choices compounding into strength. Practical action steps. 1. Set 3 non-negotiables. Identify 3 daily disciplines that must happen no matter what, for example, exercise, journaling, outreach. 2. Use the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Train yourself to close open loops. 3. Track your streak. Create a visible calendar where each day you keep a discipline you mark in 10th, don't break the chain. 4. Discomfort practice. Once a day, deliberately choose discomfort, a cold shower, an extra rep, a hard conversation. This rewires your brain to stop fleeing pain. Workbook prompts. List 3 areas of your life where lack of discipline has cost you results. 1. Identify 1 destructive habit. What daily discipline could replace it? Write down your 3 non-negotiables for the next 30 days. Reflect on 1 area where you feel enslaved. What act of discipline could break that chain? Reflection questions. 1. What excuses do I make most often for avoiding discipline? 2. Who in my life models discipline, and what can I learn from them? 3. Where in my family would more consistency from me change the atmosphere? 4. If I became radically disciplined in one area, which area would create the biggest domino effect in my life? Closing, desire is easy. Everyone has it. Discipline is rare, which is why victory is rare. When you practice discipline, you are not punishing yourself. You are freeing yourself. The man without discipline is ruled by mood, appetite, and chaos. The man with discipline rules himself, and therefore rules his world. Discipline is the bridge between desire and reality. Step on it daily, and no dream will be out of reach. Chapter 3. Alignment, the power of unified direction. Definition and core truth. Agency gives you authorship. Discipline gives you consistency. Alignment gives you power. Alignment means that your values, goals, actions, and habits all point the same way. It is the removal of inner conflict, the destruction of double-mindedness. Alignment is when your words, your calendar, your budget, your relationships, and your identity move in the same direction without sabotage. A misaligned man can work hard yet go nowhere, like rowing a boat with one oar in circles. An aligned man can do less and accomplish more, because every ounce of effort compounds. The reality check. Most people live fragmented lives. They say family is the priority, but their calendar is filled with work and screens. They say health matters, but their fridge is filled with junk. They say faith is central, but their habits reveal neglect. Misalignment breeds exhaustion. Why? Because you are at war with yourself. Your mouth says one thing, your body does another, your mind chases something else. This internal conflict drains more energy than any external enemy. The truth, you cannot move in two directions at once. Until you align your life around one set of convictions, you will always live divided, scattered, and frustrated. Story 1. The Two Horses. A farmer once tried to hitch two horses to a wagon. One pulled north, the other south. The wagon didn't move an inch. Then he turned both horses toward the same direction. The wagon rolled with ease, carrying double the weight. That is the difference between misalignment and alignment. Misalignment leaves you straining but stuck. Alignment multiplies strength. Story 2. My leadership pivot. In business, I once tried to be everything at once. Salesman, manager, technician, marketer. My calendar was chaos. I said growth mattered most, but I spent my energy putting out fires. I told my family they mattered most, but my evenings were swallowed by work. The result? Burnout, broken trust, and stagnation. Then I learned alignment, setting one true north, profitable growth through people, and aligning every decision around it. I delegated tasks that didn't fit, built systems that reinforced the mission, and stopped pretending I could chase everything at once. My stress dropped. My team rose. The company grew. Alignment didn't add hours to my day. It made the hours count. Story 3. Solomon's collapse. Solomon was the wisest man alive. He built a temple, ruled a kingdom, and commanded wealth. Yet at the end, he turned to idols. His heart became divided. His alignment shattered. Wisdom without alignment collapsed into ruin. What you align with, you become. Break alignment with truth, and greatness crumbles. The philosophical challenge. Alignment is the question of integrity. Integrity comes from the Latin integer, meaning whole, undivided. A man without integrity is split. His outer life says one thing, his inner life another. Philosophers call this cognitive dissonance. Scripture calls it being double-minded. Both agree it is misery. Alignment does not mean life is perfect. It means life is consistent. When your soul, your words, and your deeds are unified, you stand tall. When they are fractured, you limp through existence. 3 spheres application. Alignment in business means mission clarity. If your company says it values customers but cuts corners, you are misaligned. If you say you want sales but spend your time gossiping in the break room, you are misaligned. Aligned businesses dominate because every department, every employee, every system points toward the same target. Misaligned businesses collapse under internal friction. 2. Family and relationships. Alignment in family means living your values in the home, not just preaching them. If you say honesty matters but lie to your spouse, you're misaligned. If you say you love your kids but never set aside time, you're misaligned. Alignment is what makes your family trust you. 3. Self-mastery. Alignment in self means your habits match your goals. If you want strength but skip the gym, you're misaligned. If you want wealth but spend recklessly, you're misaligned. Self-mastery is the alignment of inner vision without a practice. Practical action steps. 1. Write your true north. Identify your non-negotiable life priority. Write it in one sentence. 2. Audit your life. Compare your calendar, bank statement, and habits to that true north. Circle every misalignment. 3. Eliminate cross-pull. Stop saying yes to what drags you sideways. Every yes is also a no to alignment. 4. Daily alignment check. Ask each morning, what single action today will align me most with my purpose? Workbook prompts. Write down 5 values you claim. Circle the one your life actually proves. List 3 ways your time, money, and energy are misaligned with your stated priorities. So write your alignment statement in one sentence. I am aligning my life toward. Journal about one decision where alignment cost you something short-term, but paid off long-term. Provide line space here for writing. Reflection questions. 1. Where am I living a double life? Saying one thing, doing another. 2. If my calendar were a mirror, what would it say I truly value? 3. What areas of my business, family, or self are pulling against each other instead of together? 4. What would change if every action, every dollar, every moment were aligned to one true north? Closing. Alignment is power. It turns scattered effort into unstoppable momentum. The man who is aligned is like a river cutting through rock, steady, focused, inevitable. The man who is misaligned is like a puddle, spread thin, stagnant, evaporating. Agency makes you the author. Discipline makes you the consistent builder. Alignment makes sure you are building in the right direction. Without alignment, discipline becomes slavery and agency becomes chaos. With alignment, they combine into force. Chapter 4. Mastery, the crown of consistency. Definition and core truth. Agency gives you authorship. Discipline gives you consistency. Alignment gives you direction. Mastery is the crown. Mastery is not perfection. It is proficiency born from relentless practice. It is the stage where principles are no longer something you strain to apply. They flow through you like second nature. When you reach mastery, you stop asking, how do I do this? And begin asking, how can I do this better? The basics are behind you, the fundamentals are absorbed, and you are free to elevate into excellence. The reality check. Most people quit before mastery. They dabble, they taste, they sample. They try a new skill for 2 weeks, get bored, and move on. They want results without repetition, recognition without practice. But mastery belongs to the few who repeat until the basics become automatic. The boxer who throws 10,000 jabs. The pianist who runs scales until her fingers move without thought. The salesman who has heard every objection so many times he answers with calm authority instead of panic. The truth is this: mastery is boring before it is brilliant. Only those who endure the boredom break into brilliance. Story 1. Bruce Lee's 10,000 kicks. Bruce Lee once said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That is mastery. Repetition until the move becomes identity. What looks mundane to outsiders is lethal in the hands of the master. Story 2. My first sales mastery. When I first began selling, I stumbled over words, missed cues, and lost deals. I wanted shortcuts, the magic phrase, the one-liner that would close instantly. But shortcuts never lasted. It wasn't until I drilled scripts, role-played objections, and ran call after call that confidence came. At some point, I stopped thinking about the script and simply lived it. That was the moment I realized mastery had begun, when the technique wasn't a trick but an instinct. Story 3. Michelangelo. Ceiling. Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel over 4 years, often lying on scaffolding with paint dripping into his eyes. It wasn't inspiration that sustained him, but mastery of his craft. He didn't wake up each day with overwhelming passion. He woke with skill, discipline, and alignment. The result still inspires centuries later. Mastery builds legacies. Talent fades. Trends shift. Mastery endures. The philosophical challenge. Mastery raises the question, what is excellence and why does it matter? Aristotle taught that excellence is not an act, but a habit. In other words, mastery is not a single achievement, but a state of being. Scripture mirrors this. Christ taught, be ye therefore perfect, not in the sense of flawlessness, but of completeness, of becoming whole in practice and nature. Mastery is not arrogance, it is stewardship. When you reach mastery, your skills belong not only to you, but to others. The master teacher owes his mastery to the student. The master craftsman owes his mastery to the community. To hoard mastery is to waste it. To share mastery is to multiply it. 3 spheres of application. 1. Business and professional life. Mastery in business is when processes run smoothly because you've trained yourself and your team beyond the basics. You don't scramble with every crisis because you've mastered the playbook. You can innovate because you already dominate the fundamentals. 2. Family and relationships. Mastery in family is the quiet consistency that builds trust. It's when patience has been trained so deeply that you no longer snap in anger. It's when listening has become instinct instead of effort. Families flourish when love is not a rare performance but a mastered habit. 3. Self-mastery. This is the summit. Self-mastery means ruling your impulses instead of being ruled by them. It's the ability to rise above cravings, moods, and fears. When you reach self-mastery, your identity no longer wavers with circumstance. You are steady, immovable, anchored. Practical action steps. 1. Pick one craft, choose one area of life, business, fitness, faith, skill, where you will commit to mastery instead of dabbling. 2. Track reps, not results. Focus on number of repetitions, not outcomes. Results follow mastery, not the other way around. 3. Seek feedback. Masters crave correction. Find mentors or peers who can refine you. 4. Teach it. Share what you've learned. Teaching locks mastery into your identity. Workbook prompts. Write down one skill or habit you want to master in the next year. List the first 1,000 repetitions you must complete to build automaticity. Who in your circle has achieved mastery? What can you learn from them? How will you share your mastery once it's built? Provide line space here for journaling. Reflection questions. 1. Where have I stopped short of mastery because boredom drove me away? 2. What area of my life is good enough but not excellent? 3. Who benefits if I master my craft? Who suffers if I don't? 4. What is one discipline I can elevate to mastery this year? Closing. Agency made you the author. Discipline made you consistent. Alignment gave you direction. Mastery crowns it all. The master doesn't drift, doesn't dabble, doesn't quit. He has passed through repetition, endured boredom, absorbed correction, and emerged unshakable. You don't reach mastery by accident. You forge it through fire and repetition until excellence becomes your nature. And when it does, your life ceases to be ordinary. You stop surviving and start shaping legacies. Mastery is the crown, and once it rests on your head, no one can take it but you. Chapter 5. The Edge of Clarity. Definition and core truth. Clarity is the antidote to confusion. It is the ability to see through the fog of options, distractions, and opinions until one path stands sharp before you. In a world drowning in information and noise, clarity is a rare edge. It saves you time, multiplies your focus, and cuts through the chaos like a blade. Without clarity, you drift. You say yes to everything, but commit to nothing. You are pulled in 5 directions at once and arrive nowhere. With clarity, you move like a laser, narrow, precise, unstoppable. Clarity is not about having every detail figured out. It is about knowing your true north, your non-negotiables, and your next step. It turns the question from what should I do to what must I do now? The reality check. Most people are not confused because life is complicated. They are confused because they refuse to decide. They wait for perfect certainty, so they waste years circling the runway without ever taking off. Indecision masquerades as wisdom. I'm just exploring my options. In reality, it's fear dressed up as caution. Clarity requires courage because when you choose one path, you kill the others. People fear that death. The truth, clarity is not found, it is created. You create it by stripping away distractions, naming what matters most, and acting. Until you move, the fog never clears. Story 1, The Samurai's Focus. A samurai was once asked how he won battles so decisively. He replied, "I know I will die." His meaning, because he had already accepted death. All his choices became simple. He fought without hesitation, without distraction, without fear. His clarity was absolute. You may not face swords, but the principle stands. When you decide what outcome matters most, all lesser choices align. Fear loses its grip. Distractions fade. Story 2, Business Without Clarity. I once led a team without clear priorities. Every week brought a new top focus. One day it was marketing, the next day operations, the next day sales. Everyone scrambled, but nothing stuck. Progress died in the churn of shifting priorities. When we finally declared one true priority, profitability through sales, the fog lifted. Meetings shrank. Efforts aligned. Results came. Clarity doesn't mean you ignore everything else. It means you know what drives everything else. Story 3. Churchill in Crisis. During World War II, Winston Churchill's clarity kept the nation alive. He refused to negotiate with Hitler even when others begged for compromise. His clarity was simple: survival through resistance. Because of that, every speech, every policy, every alliance was sharpened around one goal: victory. Had he wavered, Britain might have collapsed. Instead, clarity carried them through chaos. The philosophical challenge: clarity is tied to truth. If you lie to yourself about what you want, your clarity will be false. If you deceive yourself about your values, your direction will crumble. Philosophers warn of self-deception, the human tendency to disguise comfort as conviction. True clarity cuts deeper. It asks, what do I really want, and what am I willing to lose for it? Clarity is not comfort, it is confrontation. It forces you to admit you cannot have everything, so you must choose the one thing worth everything. 3 spheres of application. 1. Business and professional life. Clarity in business means knowing the core driver. Is it profit, market share, customer loyalty? You cannot chase all 3 equally. A company with clarity wins. A company without clarity burns out its people on conflicting goals. 2. Family and relationships. Clarity in family means naming your non-negotiables. Do you want a marriage built on trust? Then clarity demands honesty, even when it hurts. Do you want present children? Then clarity demands you put the phone away. Families without clarity collapse into habits of neglect. 3. Self-mastery. Clarity in self means defining who you want to become, not what others expect, not what the culture promotes, but who you are before God and conscience. Without clarity, you chase every shiny trend. With clarity, you anchor yourself in identity. Practical action steps. 1. Write your true north. Define in one sentence what your life is ultimately aimed at. 2. Cut the noise. Remove one source of distraction: news, social media, gossip, for the next 30 days. 3. Decide once. Pick one daily action aligned with your true north and make it non-negotiable. Use the rule of elimination. For every new opportunity, ask, does this pull me closer to my true north or farther? Workbook prompts. Write your true north in one sentence. List 3 things that matter deeply to you, then circle the one that matters most. Identify 3 activities that steal your clarity. Commit to cutting at least one. And journal about a time when clarity gave you strength to act even against pressure. Leave line space here for reflection. Reflection questions. 1. Where in my life am I pretending to be confused when I really just need to decide? 2. What is my true north, and how do my current actions reflect it? 3. What noise do I need to cut to hear my conscience clearly? 4. If I died tomorrow, what one thing would I regret not pursuing with clarity? Closing. Clarity is the edge. It cuts through excuses, distractions, and fear. The man with clarity walks straighter, speaks bolder, and acts quicker. The man without clarity hesitates until opportunities rot. Clarity is not given, it is forged. You create it by choosing what matters most, aligning with truth, and cutting away the rest. Once you have clarity, you carry a weapon few possess in a world of confusion. Hold it, sharpen it, wield it, and watch as the fog parts before you. Chapter 6. Building momentum that doesn't break. Definition and core truth. Momentum is forward motion with force. It is what carries a train over the next hill once it's already moving. In life, momentum is what transforms intentions into results. The man with momentum doesn't need to hype himself into action every morning. His habits are already rolling. The man without momentum wakes each day at 0, pushing a boulder from scratch. Momentum doesn't come from one dramatic act, it comes from daily consistency. The miracle is that once momentum is built, it multiplies. Success breeds confidence, confidence breeds action, action breeds more success. This cycle is unstoppable unless you break it. The reality check. Most people live in cycles of bursts and crashes. They sprint with enthusiasm, then collapse in exhaustion. They start diets, projects, businesses, resolutions, then abandon them when excitement fades. The problem is not desire. It's the lack of systems that protect momentum from life's inevitable friction. Momentum is fragile at first. It's like fire, powerful once blazing but easily snuffed in the beginning. That's why so many dreams die in the first 30 days. Momentum was never allowed to catch. The truth, you don't rise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your systems. Momentum that lasts is engineered, not improvised. Story 1, The Chain of X's. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld was once asked how to become a better writer. His answer was simple: write a joke every day. He used a calendar to mark an X on every day he wrote. Over time, the chain grew. The rule became, don't break the chain. That chain built unstoppable momentum. One joke became two. Two became a career. The secret wasn't inspiration, it was streaks. Story 2, My Early Business Stumbles. When I first launched my business, I relied on bursts. One week I would make 50 sales calls. The next week, burned out, I'd make 5. My results were as erratic as my effort. It wasn't until I built systems, scheduled calls, tracked follow-ups, measured daily outputs, that momentum steadied. Within months, the pipeline filled and deals flowed. The work didn't get easier, my momentum got stronger. Story 3, The Runner Who Never Stopped. A friend of mine decided to run 1 mile every day. No matter the weather, no matter how late, he ran. After 100 days, momentum took over. He ran in storms, on vacations, even once at midnight after a long shift. Years later, he'd run thousands of miles. The habit no longer required willpower. Momentum carried him. The philosophical challenge. Momentum raises the deeper question: do you want a life of sprints or a life of flow? Our culture idolizes intensity, short bursts of extreme effort. But mastery belongs to those who build flow. The Stoics called this constancy. Scripture calls it enduring to the end. Momentum is not a motivational trick. It is spiritual law. You reap what you sow, and you reap more than you sow. Habits are seeds. Momentum is harvest. 3 spheres of application. 1, business and professional life. Momentum in business is built by consistent prospecting, consistent service, consistent delivery. Companies collapse not from lack of opportunity, but from broken momentum. A steady pipeline is always better than random surges. 2, family and relationships. Momentum in family comes from small, repeated investments, nightly dinners, weekly traditions, consistent words of affirmation. A marriage with momentum doesn't rely on grand gestures, it grows through daily deposits of trust. 3, self-mastery. Momentum in self is the compound interest of habits. One workout won't transform your body, but a year of workouts changes everything. One prayer won't transform your soul, but daily prayer builds a fortress. Momentum creates transformation invisibly, then reveals it suddenly. Practical action steps. 1, start small. Repeat daily. Choose one habit that takes less than 10 minutes and commit for 30 days. 2, track visibly. Use a calendar, journal, or app to mark every success. Protect your streak. 3, design your environment, remove friction from good habits, shoes by the bed, fruit on the counter, and add friction to bad ones. 4, recover quickly. When momentum breaks, restart the next day. Never miss twice. Workbook prompts. And write down one habit you want momentum in. List 3 ways you can remove friction from that habit. When describe one area of life where momentum died. What system could have saved it? And track your streak for 30 days. Each X is proof you are building unbreakable momentum. Leave line pages here for reflection. Reflection questions. 1, where in my life am I starting over every week because I lack systems? 2, what habit, if done daily, would compound into life-changing momentum? 3, what does my current chain of X's look like? Where is it broken? 4, who in my life could help hold me accountable to maintain momentum? Closing. Momentum is power. It turns the grind into glide. It takes you from forcing effort to being carried by effort. The man with momentum is unstoppable, not because he never struggles, but because his systems protect the motion he's built. Don't rely on willpower. Don't rely on hype. Build systems. Protect streaks. And once momentum is rolling, guard it like treasure, because with it, almost anything is possible. Chapter 7. Leadership without pretense. Definition and core truth. Leadership is influence with direction. It is the art of guiding others toward a worthy goal, not through title or intimidation, but through integrity, courage, and service. Pretense in leadership is the mask leaders wear to look strong while hiding weakness, to look wise while making poor choices, to look generous while being selfish. Leadership without pretense is stripped of that mask. It is raw, honest, and trustworthy. True leaders are not those who demand followers, but those who live in a way others want to follow. Leadership without pretense is not about spotlight. It's about stewardship, the reality check. The world is drowning in pretentious leadership. Politicians chase applause instead of principle. CEOs manipulate numbers to please investors instead of protecting workers. Parents project authority while living in hypocrisy. Pretentious leaders build kingdoms of sand. Eventually, the storm exposes them. Titles vanish. Images crack. Fear-driven control collapses. The truth: people follow authenticity longer than they follow authority. A leader without pretense may not look glamorous, but his influence endures because it is rooted in trust. Story 1. The CEO in the trenches. A CEO once noticed morale sinking in his factory. Instead of calling another meeting from his corner office, he grabbed protective gear and worked alongside his employees on the floor. He shoveled, lifted, and listened. The effect was electric. Workers said, "He's one of us." Productivity surged. The difference wasn't a new policy. It was leadership without pretense, service in action. Story 2. A father's quiet leadership. I knew a father who admitted when he was wrong to his children. Instead of pretending to be flawless, he said, "I lost my temper. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry." His children didn't lose respect. They gained it. They learned that strength isn't pretending to be perfect. It's owning your flaws and correcting them. Story 3. Lincoln's humility. Abraham Lincoln filled his cabinet with rivals who disagreed with him. Why? Because he cared more about truth than about protecting his ego. Leadership without pretense seeks wisdom, not flattery. Lincoln's humility gave him strength in crisis where pride would have blinded him. The philosophical challenge. Leadership asks, do I exist to serve people, or do people exist to serve me? Pretentious leaders believe the second. They use followers as tools. When their usefulness ends, so does loyalty. Authentic leaders believe the first. They see leadership as stewardship and accountability to those they guide. Philosophers have long debated the social contract, the invisible agreement between people and leaders. Without authenticity, that contract collapses. Leadership without pretense preserves the contract because it is grounded in truth. 3 spheres of application. 1. Business and professional. Life. Authentic leadership at work means transparency. Admit mistakes. Share credit. Protect people over numbers. The team that trusts you will outperform the team that fears you. 2. Family and relationships. In family, leadership without pretense means modeling what you expect. If you demand honesty but lie, you fracture trust. If you demand respect but show none, you destroy unity. Children and spouses follow authenticity, not hypocrisy. 3. Self-mastery. Leadership begins within. You cannot lead others authentically if you deceive yourself. Self-leadership without pretense means telling the truth about your habits, your weaknesses, and your motives. Until you lead yourself honestly, you cannot lead others well. Practical action steps. 1. Drop the mask. Identify one area where you're pretending. Confess it, correct it, live openly. 2. Serve first. Once this week, do a task beneath your status. Lead from the ground. 3. Seek criticism. Ask 3 people you trust where your leadership feels fake. Listen, don't defend. 4. Model it. Pick one principle: honesty, patience, work ethic, and practice it visibly. Let others see integrity in action. Workbook prompts. Write down one area where you wear a mask. What would leadership without pretense look like there? List 3 people you lead. How can you serve each of them this week? Unjournal about a leader you trusted because they were real. What qualities did they show? Commit to one habit of transparency you'll practice daily. Leave line space here for reflection. Reflection questions. 1. Am I leading from ego instead of service? 2. Do my actions match the image I project? 3. Who in my life needs me to lead with more honesty? 4. How would my influence grow if I led without pretense? Closing. Leadership without pretense is not glamorous. It doesn't chase applause. It doesn't wear a mask, but it endures. The pretentious leader wins crowds for a season and loses them in the storm. The authentic leader may walk a harder road, but his influence outlives him. Lead without pretense. Admit your flaws. Serve first. Stand firm in principle. The world has enough masks. What it needs is leaders with faces unhidden, hearts uncorrupted, and hands willing to work alongside those they guide. Chapter 8. Relentless Execution. Definition and core truth. Execution is where dreams collide with reality. Plans, strategies, and goals are worthless until they are carried out with persistence. Relentless execution is the discipline of finishing what you start, of translating intentions into outcomes, without quitting halfway. Most people fail, not because their vision was too small or their strategy was weak, but because they never consistently executed. They start strong, then stall. They make promises, then procrastinate. They dream big, but delay action. Relentless execution is not frantic activity. It is precise, focused, and enduring. It is doing the right things at the right time at the right speed and doing them long enough to matter. The reality check. We live in an age of planners, but not finishers. People collect apps, journals, and whiteboards filled with ideas. Yet unfinished projects litter their lives like abandoned construction sites. Why? Because execution is costly. It requires saying no to distractions, sacrificing comfort, enduring boredom, and pushing through resistance. Most people confuse being busy with executing, but busyness without results is wasted energy. The truth, you don't get credit for what you intended to do, only for what you finished. Story 1. The contractor who finished the job. I once worked with a contractor who was a master planner. His proposals were beautiful, his ideas brilliant, but he had a habit of leaving jobs 80% done. Customers grew frustrated, his reputation soured. Another contractor I knew wasn't as flashy. He didn't wow anyone with presentations, but he finished every job. On time, on budget, every detail buttoned up. Guess who built the lasting business? Execution beats talent when talent doesn't execute. Story 2. Alexander's relentless campaign. Alexander the Great wasn't the only man with visions of empire. Many leaders dreamed of conquest, but Alexander executed. He led his men through deserts, across rivers, over mountains. He didn't just plan invasions, he carried them out. By the time he was 30, he ruled most of the known world. Dreams are common, execution is rare. Story 3, my own wake-up call. In the early days of my business, I was guilty of over-planning. I would outline, brainstorm, and strategize for hours, but hesitate to act. A mentor once told me, your plans don't pay bills, your execution does. That cut me deep, and it was true. Once I committed to executing daily tasks relentlessly, calls made, appointments set, follow-ups completed, momentum exploded. I learned that excellence lives in follow-through, not just in vision. The philosophical challenge, relentless execution, raises the deeper question, am I committed to doing or am I addicted to dreaming? There is a kind of self-deception in dreaming without executing. It makes you feel productive, but it produces nothing. The Stoics warned against this, teaching that only deeds count. Scripture echoes, by their fruits ye shall know them, not by their plans, not by their intentions, by their fruits. Relentless execution is not glamorous. It is sweat, repetition, and resilience, but it is the only bridge between potential and reality. 3 spheres of application. 1. Business and professional life. Execution in business means finishing tasks, delivering results, and honoring commitments. It means sales calls made, invoices sent, promises kept. Strategy sets direction, but execution pays the bills. 2. Family and relationships. Execution in family means following through on what you say. If you promise your child you'll play after work, execute. If you tell your spouse you'll fix something, execute. Families thrive on follow-through. Broken promises rot trust. 3. Self-mastery. Execution in self means turning resolutions into habits. It's not enough to want to exercise, eat better, or pray. Execution is putting on the shoes, lifting the weight, saying the prayer. Daily, relentlessly, until it becomes who you are. Practical action steps. 1. Break it down. Divide big goals into daily bite-sized tasks. 2. Prioritize ruthlessly. Do the task that moves the needle most first. 3. Track completion, not activity. Measure outcomes, not hours. 4. Finish small things. Train your brain to close loops by completing small tasks fully. 5. Set deadlines. Nothing gets executed without a clear time boundary. Workbook prompts. Write down one goal you've delayed. Break it into 3 tasks you can execute this week. List 3 areas where you tend to stop at 80%. What would finishing look like? And journal about a time when relentless follow-through produced a breakthrough. Track one project to completion over the next 30 days. Mark progress daily. Leave line space here for reflection. Reflection questions. 1. Where am I confusing planning with progress? 2. What unfinished tasks are draining my energy? 3. Who in my life is waiting for me to follow through? 4. What one thing, if executed relentlessly, would transform my results this year? Closing. Relentless execution is not about talent, luck, or inspiration. It is about finishing. The man who executes relentlessly wins, not because he is smarter, but because he outlasts. Dreams inspire, plans guide, but only execution delivers. Don't be the man with notebooks full of ideas and a life empty of results. Be the one whose results speak louder than his words. Execute relentlessly and watch your life transform. Chapter 9. The Science of Sustainability. Definition and core truth. Sustainability is the art of building a life you can live with strength, not just for a season, but for decades. It is not about sprinting to success and burning out. It is about running a pace that lets you finish the race. True sustainability balances 3 arenas: physical endurance, emotional resilience, and spiritual grounding. Without that balance, even the strongest will collapse. The reality check. Our culture idolizes the grind, sleepless hustlers, endless travel, no days off. But burnout is not a badge of honor. It is proof of mismanagement. Many sacrifice health, relationships, and peace chasing short-term gains, only to crumble before the finish line. The truth, if your system isn't sustainable, your success won't last. Story 1. The Burned Out Executive. I once knew an executive who lived on coffee, fast food, and 4 hours of sleep. His business grew rapidly, but his health collapsed. Eventually, he lost not only his company, but his family. His foundation was unsustainable. Story 2. The Marathoner's Wisdom. A sprinter can explode for 100 meters, but collapses after 400. A marathoner trains differently. He masters pace, breath, hydration. He sustains. Life is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Story 3. My own correction. In my early years, I wore burnout like a badge. I thought exhaustion proved commitment, but exhaustion proved ignorance. When I learned to balance work, recovery, and family, my results improved, not diminished. Sustainability turned chaos into rhythm. The philosophical challenge. The question, do you want to live briefly impressive or enduringly impactful? History remembers not those who flamed out, but those who lasted. Sustainability is wisdom applied to ambition. 3 spheres of application. Business. Build systems that work without you. Scale through delegation. Create rhythms instead of chaos. Family. Sustainable families practice rest, traditions, and forgiveness. Without rhythm, homes fracture. Self, physical health, emotional care, spiritual depth. Neglect any one, and sustainability fails. Action steps. 1. Audit your rhythms, sleep, food, exercise. 2. Identify your biggest drain. Create a recovery practice. 3. Schedule rest like a meeting. 4. Anchor in something spiritual that lifts you beyond self. Workbook prompts. Write one habit for physical, emotional, and spiritual sustainability. Where are you sprinting unsustainably? And who models sustainability for you? Reflection questions. 1. What part of my life is burning out? 2. How can I pace differently to last? 3. What spiritual practice do I need to reclaim? 4. If I live sustainably, what would change most? Closing. Sustainability is not weakness. It is wisdom. Build rhythms that let you last. Lasting impact requires lasting strength. Chapter 10. The Power of Calm in Chaos. Definition and core truth. Calm is control of yourself when the world shakes. It is not indifference, it is composure that allows clarity, wisdom, and presence under pressure. The reality check. Chaos will strike, businesses will fail, children will cry, storms will rage. Most people panic, lash out, or shut down. Calm leaders don't. They hold steady, and by doing so, steady everyone else. The truth: panic multiplies chaos. Calm dissolves it. Story 1: Firefighters in training. Firefighters don't wait until a real fire to learn calm. They drill until muscle memory overrides fear. You must train the same way. Practice composure in small stresses so you can stand strong in great ones. Story 2: Jesus on the stormy sea. While his disciples panicked, Jesus slept in the boat. Calm in chaos doesn't mean ignoring danger. It means resting in mastery. His presence transformed their fear. Story 3: My crisis moment. Once, when my business faced collapse, I nearly panicked, but panic wouldn't save it. I forced myself to slow my breathing, think clearly, and act step by step. Calm decisions rescued what panic would have destroyed. The philosophical challenge: calm requires perspective. Ask, will this matter in 5 years? If not, don't lose yourself to it. Calm is also contagious. Your composure stabilizes others. 3 spheres of application. Business: calm leaders prevent team panic in crises. Family: parents who stay calm in chaos raise children who trust them. Self: calm turns triggers into teachers. Action steps: 1. Practice breathing under stress. 2. Delay reaction by 10 seconds before responding in anger. 3. Rehearse worst-case scenarios and decide in advance how you'll act. 4. Build perspective habits. Journal, pray, reflect. Workbook prompts: recall a chaotic moment. How did you react? And write down one practice to build calm. Identify your top 3 triggers. Plan calm responses. Reflection questions. 1. What chaos currently owns me? 2. What would calm leadership look like in that space? 3. Who around me needs me calm? 4. What practices anchor my mind in storms? Closing: chaos will always come. Calm is your weapon. Train it, practice it, embody it. When you are calm in chaos, you are unshakable. Chapter 11: Leaving a legacy that lives. Definition and core truth. Legacy is the echo of your life after you are gone. It is not plaques or buildings, it is the impact on people, the values you passed, the love you gave, the seeds you planted. The reality check. Most live as if life ends with them. They chase possessions that die with the grave. Few think generationally, but legacy is not optional. You will leave one. The only question: will it be worthy? The truth: your daily choices ripple into generations. Story 1: The addict who broke the chain. I knew a man who chose sobriety after years of addiction. His children and grandchildren never knew the chaos he escaped. His choice became their inheritance. Story 2: Teachers and seeds. A teacher may never see the full fruit of her work, but the seeds she plants grow into leaders, artists, innovators. Legacy often blooms unseen. Story 3: My own family reflection. When I think of my children, I ask, will they remember my words or my actions, my discipline or my excuses, my presence or my absence? That is the legacy I am shaping daily. The philosophical challenge. Legacy forces you to ask, what story will be told about me when I am gone? Fame fades. Fortune is forgotten. But love, faith, integrity, these outlast centuries. 3 spheres of application. Business: build companies that outlive you. Systems, culture, values, not just profit. Family: legacy is written in traditions, in rituals, in love passed down. Self: your character is your ultimate legacy. Action steps. 1. Write your legacy statement, one sentence of how you want to be remembered. 2. Identify one destructive habit to kill for the sake of your children. 3. Begin one tradition to outlast you. 4. Mentor someone younger. Legacy multiplies through others. Workbook prompts. Write the story you want your grandchildren to tell about you. List 3 people already shaped by your example. Poissant, what tradition can you start this year? Reflection questions. 1. What legacy am I leaving right now? 2. What would change if I lived as if legacy mattered? Who will carry my values when I am? 4. What am I doing today to plant seeds for tomorrow? Closing. Legacy is not built in speeches or statues. It is built in kitchens, in workrooms, in late-night talks, in small acts of faithfulness. Live for more than yourself. Live for those who will follow. Choose a legacy of strength, love, and truth, and your life will echo long after your voice is silent. Conclusion: Your move. You have examined agency, the authorship of your choices, discipline, the steel that carries you through, alignment, truth as a compass, and mastery, the crown of consistency. You've sharpened clarity, built momentum, practiced authentic leadership, executed relentlessly, designed sustainability, trained calm in chaos, and set your eyes on legacy. Knowing is not enough. Transformation comes through application. Heroes are formed in quiet sacrifices, choosing patience over anger, faithfulness over convenience, truth over comfort. Decide now what you will do differently. Send the message. Apologize. Start the workout. Schedule the meeting. Turn off the screen and listen to your child. Choose one thing now. Momentum follows. You are not expected to do this alone. Heroes are shaped by mentors, communities, families, and the grace of God. Ask for help. Offer help. Live generously. Carry the standard high so others can see where to go. Your move matters, not just for you, but for all who will be touched by your courage. Step into the life waiting to be built. Final testimony, your charge and your promise. I have taught you the laws that do not bend agency, discipline, alignment, mastery. I bear witness that they are true. I have watched men and women who were drifting take the oars, and I watched houses that rattled in the wind become quiet and strong. When these laws are honored, lives turn, not by accident, by covenant. You do not need more speeches. You need a standard and a schedule. You need the courage to keep simple promises until your life carries weight. You are not a leaf. You are a builder. Put your hands on the stone. What I ask of you now, invitations to act. Today. 1. Choose the narrow gate. Write one governing sentence. I live by agency, discipline, alignment, and mastery for the good of my God, my family, and my work. Place it where your eyes begin the day. 2. Make one promise you can keep. Before you sleep, set out shoes, water, and the first page you'll touch tomorrow. Decide the time and the first move, no debate. 3. Repair one frayed thread. Send the text, make the call, speak the apology. Replace pride with ownership. Peace returns quickest to the humble. This week. 4. Run a 3-block day, 5 days. Move your body 20 minutes. Move your mission one needle mover before noon. Move your mind 10 pages or 10 minutes prayer journal. 5. Align your calendar to your values. Name your true north. Schedule 2 blocks that prove it. Delete one commitment that only flatters you. 6. Create a family team rhythm. 1 undistracted hour, 1 shared meal, first words soft, last words grateful. Put it on the calendar like revenue, this month. 7. Master 1 sub-skill. Map a skills tree, drill 15 minutes daily, seek 1 hard critique, teach back on day 30. 8. Write your legacy statement and your first builder's letter. Start 1 small tradition that can survive 50 years. 9. Install the calm protocol. 5 minutes of breath or prayer twice daily. Adopt the Reset 30 rule in hot rooms. Carry your crisis card. When you complete these, you will not be the same person who began. Promise blessings for those who apply these teachings. Instant clarity. Days stop arguing. Decisions come faster and with less regret. When in steadiness under fire. Fear may knock, but it will not steer. Rooms cool when you enter. Compounding trust. Finishing, truth-telling, and quick repair become currency that buys opportunity. Main clean strength. Body answers when called. Mind holds the line. You push and you rest without shame. And peace in the home. Tone softens. Table becomes sanctuary. Power is ownership, not volume. And fruitful work. Precision replaces frenzy. Reputation matures from noise to signal. Inheritance beyond money. Letters, ledgers, rituals, and rules mentor people you may never meet. 1. Joy. Not thin novelty, but deep gladness of an ordered, useful, generous, and strong life. Hold these promises with humility and with work. Heaven honors effort aligned with truth. Final commitments. Say them out loud. I choose agency. I stop explaining and start authoring my life. And I practice discipline. I keep pre-decided rails when feelings wander. I live in alignment. My values, words, calendar, and money agree. I pursue mastery. I drill fundamentals until excellence becomes nature. And I protect rhythm. I schedule work and recovery like law. In need without pretense. I serve, set standards, share credit, and execute relentlessly. I finish small, correct, and daily. And carry calm. I breathe, name, choose, and lead. I build legacy now. I write, teach, open a seat, and keep the dinner. A prayer and a charge. May light visit your mornings early. May your hands be steady, your eyes honest, and your words clean. May your house be bright with first words soft and last words grateful. May your work be precise, your rest real, and your name safe to those who carry it after you. May courage and calm be twins in you, and may the fruit of your labor outlast your years. Now rise, send the message, book the meeting, lay out the shoes, open the page, apologize, bless, build, repeat, grip the oars, row. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. The end.